We have a very full day of baking ahead of us, so let's dive into the first recipe, which is a Christmas fudge. To begin this fudge, we need to line a baking tray with some parchment paper. And I read a little trick that you can crumple this up and then it sits a lot nicer in the pan. I'm gonna give the pan a quick little spray. I find that that helps hold it in place a little bit better. And set that off to the side. So we need to do 3 tablespoons of butter, and we're just going to use the guides on the butter wrapper. Then we need 2.5 cups of chocolate chips. I'm going to be using semi-sweet today, and the only scissors I could find are kid scissors. Is that not motherhood? Bye-bye. I've never made any sort of fudge or anything like this baking day, so I'm very much looking forward to learning all these different recipes. There's 2.5 cups. And then we need 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. Yeah. I don't work with sweetened condensed milk very often, but when I was back in college, somebody taught me a trick that you can actually boil one of these cans and it makes kind of a caramel. It was pretty cool. Okay, there we go. We need a teaspoon of vanilla and I'm pouring with my heart. And a little bit of salt. However, I used salted butter, so I'm just going to leave it and we are going to head over to the stove. And we're going to turn our stove on. You're basically going to mix this for 5 minutes until all of the chocolate is melted. As soon as it's melted, you take it off the heat and pour it into your baking dish. Since I have a gas stove and it goes so fast, I'm going to make sure I do not leave this unattended at all. Apparently the sweetened condensed milk is a shortcut to getting perfect fudge. It helps keep it very texturally sound. I'm going to turn the heat down a hair because it's going so fast. I still see a little bit of butter in there, so it's not quite done, but it is getting close. Okay, I think we're there. So we'll turn off the heat and then pour it into our baking dish. Ooh, that looks so good. We'll spread that out. I did not spray down this parchment paper now that I think about it. So that is unfortunate. Hopefully it still comes out okay. And then we will top it with some sprinkles. These are the most Christmassy ones that I have, and they are mermaid ones, so I can't see anybody complaining that they're not Christmassy enough. However, I do hope that they stick okay. It seems like this fudge is already setting up. And now this goes into the fridge. While that is chilling, we're going to get started on some homemade caramels. Now, I have never made these either, but I'm very excited. We're going to use the same pan. I just gave it a quick wash, and we are going to start with 4 cups of sugar. This is quite a big recipe. It says that it makes 60 homemade caramels. That is 4, and then we need 1 cup of butter. Again, I'm using the packaging on the butter to measure this out. I'm just going to cut the butter into cubes so it melts a little bit quicker. I have actually never done Christmas baking. I've always wanted to. I think it's so fun. However, I got invited to a baking exchange in my neighborhood. We just moved about 6 months ago and I was very excited to be included. So here we are making 120 treats for that. I may be overcommitted, but I committed nonetheless, so here we are. We're going to make it happen. It is then 2 cups of corn syrup as well. I decided to wear an apron because every time I do cooking or baking days like this, I end up getting my clothes all stained. This sweater is now officially my YouTube cooking sweater. And we have 2 cups of corn syrup. Hopefully this is enough. I think I have another one in my pantry. Man, I am really glad that I ended up buying another corn syrup. That could have been bad. This pan may not be big enough. I'm a little worried about that. I might have to switch pans. Because I believe we still need, yep, 2 cans of evaporated milk. This might overflow. So I'm gonna switch out the pans and meet you over at the stove. So I switched my pan for a bigger one. We're going to get that started. It says bring it to a boil, and then we're gonna start with the evaporated milk. So while this is coming to a boil, I'm going to line my baking tray with some more parchment paper. I'm not sure how I felt about the crumple trick last time. I'm worried that it's gonna give the bottom a really wrinkly look, but we'll just try it normally and see how that goes. I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna give it a quick spray as well, just to make sure. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to get the evaporated milk opened because I don't want to be scrambling for it. I'm going to take you a little bit closer so you can actually see the mixture as we go. It's coming together quite nicely, making sure none of the sugar is going to burn. I'm definitely glad I cut up the butter a little bit. I think it would have taken way too long. Make sure that you're scraping down the sides as well. So the mixture is starting to boil around the edges here, but you want to make sure that when you're bringing something to a boil, you see all of the bubbles in the middle here as well. This recipe says that this next part is going to be a labor of love because each can of evaporated milk needs to take between 10 and 15 minutes to be put in. Basically, that is the tiniest amount at a time. You know what I did not add to this is salt. Again, we have salted butter, but maybe I'll do half the amount. So instead of a teaspoon of salt, I'm just doing a half teaspoon. This is definitely getting closer. So I'm starting to see a few bubbles coming here. So I am going to set my timer for 10 minutes. So I have my timer here. Sorry, it's out of focus, but we're gonna start that. And we are going to be adding this evaporated milk a tiny, tiny bit at a time. It does not say to turn down the temperature at all. Oh yeah, woo! So we're just gonna be doing that. I'm glad that I started with this recipe. I mean, I did the fudge already, but I think if I was already burnt out from an entire day of baking, this probably would not be that fun. So basically, I'm gonna try and do every 45 seconds-ish, a little bit more of this milk. Woo! I don't think that's gonna get old. Every time it happens, you're gonna hear a woo! So I am going to continue on doing this with both of the cans, so it'll take a total of 20 minutes. I'll see you back again when this mixture is completely done, and I'll show you the next steps. So we're almost at the end of 10 minutes. My timer is gonna go off in 10 seconds, and I still have about a quarter of the can left. So I've realized I can do a little bit bigger pours, but again, pouring, staying back, and there's my timer. I will say the labor of love part comes from constant mixing. Also, I don't know if you saw, but when I opened up my can, I only did a very small amount there. That made it so much easier to pour slowly. So that is definitely a hack. All right, we're starting on the second can. Let's get our timer started again. There we go, and then I'll see you when this can is finished. I have one more pour to go. I have hit 25 minutes of doing this. So here we go. Oh, I definitely should have done that in 2. Now what we're gonna do is grab our candy thermometer and stick it in the middle of this to see how hot it is. Okay, we want it between 238 and 240 degrees Fahrenheit. And you do it in the middle, not off to the sides. It said it will take probably 10 to 15 extra minutes. Make sure we're mixing because I can see the bottom is starting to get some of these bits, which we do not want. And I'm gonna back you up a little bit because we're immediately gonna pour it into our parchment paper baking tray as soon as it comes to 238 to 240. Okay, so it's at 230 right now. I think we're gonna be pretty close here, if not already there. So we're going to take it off the heat and pour it on in. Oh my. Woo, so hot. Okay, now this goes into the fridge. Recipe number 3 is going to be homemade Oreos. Pretty excited about this. So what we're gonna do is start with the butter, and it is half a cup of butter. I left this butter out the whole time so it could come to room temperature. Oh yeah, it's soft. So that goes in, and then we're going to use our beaters. I don't have a stand mixer, if you can believe that. That's on my wish list of one day. But at this moment, we're just making do with what we have. So we are gonna start by beating up the butter. Let's start by plugging it in. My goodness. There we go. Now we add in granulated sugar and the brown sugar. As I was scooping up this 1/4 cup of brown sugar that is packed, I broke my measuring cup, so I'm sad about that. And then 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. Give that a mix. And then I believe it is 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 1 egg. Okay, now we add in the dry ingredients, which is 1 1/4 cups of flour, and then 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, 1 teaspoon baking soda, and then it is a pinch of salt. However, my butter is salted, so we are not going to do that today. Now we mix this on low until it's just combined. Give it a little scrape, make sure everything is incorporated. A, does not seem like that much batter, and B, it's very crumbly. It almost seems like it could use a little bit more moisture. We're going to just do it as the recipe says. It says chill this for 30 minutes. So I'm gonna go throw this in the fridge and then I will be back. Our 4th recipe is going to be pumpkin rolls with cream cheese filling. I think this sounds really tasty. It's my friend's recipe and she swears by it. So we're gonna start by preheating the oven to 375 degrees. We next have to line a cookie sheet with some parchment paper. Spray it down. Perfect. Now, we're going to set this aside and we're going to start with our dry ingredients, which is 3/4 cup of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then we're going to get into the pumpkin pie seasoning. So technically you could use 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie seasoning, but we're just going to make our own. So it's 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And this is all going into the flour. 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. I think this is gonna be really good because this is the ginger that I made from scratch. 1/4 teaspoon ground cloves. Whenever I smell cloves, I get so yucked out because when I had my wisdom teeth removed when I was much younger, they ended up having to put cloves inside and it just, that smell, that flavor, everything was not great. But in pumpkin pie, it is not bad. Then 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg. We're gonna give this a little mix. Make sure they're all combined. However, now that I think about this, I might need to double this recipe. Yeah, you know what? I need to double this recipe. So we're gonna do all of that one more time. Apologies for that abrupt camera angle shift. My dog is underneath the table and she decided to knock my camera over. So whoopsie. So let's mix this all around, make sure it's nice and combined, and then we'll set it off to the side. So I just grabbed a bigger cookie sheet since I'm doubling this recipe. And you have to do 3 eggs, but I'm gonna do 6 because I'm doubling. We do have chickens. However, they are not laying that much in this winter time, so I had to buy these and I was like, ugh. It's fine, they need a break too. One cup of sugar. I'm using half cup, and that is 2 cups. Now we need to whisk this together for about 1 minute until it's nice and combined. Okay, now 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And then we'll do 2/3 of a cup of pumpkin puree. But really, we'll do 1 cup and 1/3. 3, but I'm using my 1/3 measuring cup. And just doing it 4 times. Now I still have quite a bit of pumpkin left over. We love pumpkin pie, so I will probably freeze this for a pumpkin pie recipe at some point as well. Now it says to gently combine the pumpkin, and then we fold in the flour mixture. Oh, it smells so good. Now we're gonna take our cookie sheet, move all this other stuff out of the way, and we pour the batter on. And then spread it out. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Try and make it as even as you can. This goes into the oven for 12 to 14 minutes. These things are the bane of my existence. Setting a timer. There we go. Now we're going to make the filling for the Oreo cookies. So it is 1/4 cup of butter and then 1/4 cup of shortening. And we start by creaming these together. It doesn't call for salt, but I'm gonna give it a little pinch. I think that will cut some of the sweetness a little bit. And then a little bit of vanilla. The technical amount is 1 teaspoon. And then it's 1 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar. So we're just gonna add it nice and slow. Okay, and the filling is complete. The timer just went off for these pumpkin rolls. Woo! All right, well, it does not look done. Maybe I'll just rotate it a little bit. I think it needs another 5 minutes or so. So the next step with the pumpkin roll is to let it cool for 5 minutes and then flip it upside down onto a clean dish towel. So I went to pull this out of the oven, and as I pulled it out, I didn't realize how heavy it was, and I dumped it over. I wish I was filming it. But I dumped it and then I dropped it and saved it. Oh my gosh, it was like a ninja move. So it is saved. Thank goodness it didn't go on the ground. It didn't get broken. However, I am trying to figure out how in the world I'm supposed to flip this onto that. This feels very tricky. This may be a case of learn from my mistakes, or it may go perfectly well. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, I guess the key is speed. Woo! It's hot. Now we're gonna take it up from one end and roll it out. Okay, well, try and keep it towards the edge of your dish towel if you do this. But it's too late for me, so here we go. Okay, it's going not too bad. So there is our pumpkin roll. We're gonna leave it rolled up like this for half an hour while it cools. In the meantime, we are going to start on our cookie dough for our Oreos. We have our greased baking tray here and our chilled dough. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon cookies. They are gonna be so tiny, but so cute. And you're going to take them and roll them into a little ball. This goes without saying, as does everything, that you should be washing your hands whenever you're baking or cooking. But I feel like I need to say it just to remind you that I am indeed doing this. Oh my goodness, they're so cute. So I'm just using my little teaspoon measuring spoon here, filling it up, and then squishing it into a ball, rolling it up, and on it goes. So again, just using my 1 teaspoon measuring spoon. I have no idea how long this is gonna take me. I was a little bit worried about this dough, that it was gonna be too dry, but it's actually the perfect consistency. So I definitely did not need to play around with it, which is good. I felt like I was rolling cookies for years, but we are here, we made it. I'm gonna go and bake these now, and then we're going to go back to our cream cheese pumpkin roll and make the cream cheese filling. So those cookies are in the oven for 6 to 8 minutes. I did 7 minutes to begin with. We'll see though, they need to be nice and soft. So we've got our pumpkin roll still cooling over here. Now we're gonna get started on the filling. We're gonna get started with 2 bricks of cream cheese. I did let these soften for about half an hour, but I don't think they're soft enough. So I'm just going to let these soften a little bit longer. I'm gonna put them near my oven where it is nice and hot. And we're going to add 2 cups of powdered sugar to this. And a splash of vanilla. And a pinch of salt. The Oreos are ready to come out of the oven. Oh my, they're so cute. Okay, and then we let those cool off until they're cool. We're back to the icing. Thank goodness I checked, because it turns out we need 6 tablespoons of butter. And 1 more. There we go. So this can go off to the side now until our pumpkin roll is ready. So this pumpkin roll has been cooling for a little over half an hour now. We're going to unwrap it. Ooh, it's still very warm. And it's breaking a little bit too, which is probably normal. So how does this not get gummy is my question. Ooh, and it's sticking really heavily to the tea towel. Well, this may be a recipe just for my family, I don't know. But we're gonna spread on this cream cheese mixture. And as I did this, oh no, what have I done? I should have rolled it the other way. Oh dear. So I've made some errors. I purposely made this on a very big baking tray because I was hoping to double the recipe. But what I think I'm gonna do now is try and roll it this way, because this is what I originally had wanted. This may not work. Oop, it's definitely cracking. Okay, immediately that's bad plan. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What have I done? What have I done? What do I even do with this? So I'm just trying to clean it up a little bit. I'm not sure if that's even possible. Well, I guess I could cut it into really thin slices. I guess it depends how it refrigerates. We're gonna take the cookie pan and we're gonna try and corral this disaster. Okay, I'm gonna put this in the fridge and we'll come back to it. If you watched my first baking video, you will have seen this brownie mix that I make in a jar. And today we are going to actually make the brownies because every time I make them, everybody asks for the recipe and they devour them. So since I'm doubling the recipe today, I'm gonna do 10 tablespoons of melted butter. Here we go. And then we'll do 2/3 of a cup of oil. Then we'll do 4 eggs and 2 yolks. Four. And then we need just the yolks of 2 eggs. One. By the way, I am cleaning up this workstation in between all of the recipes. I'm just not showing that because that would be super boring. Maybe not. Everything is nice and combined, and now we add our baking mix. This baking mix makes baking days so much quicker. If you haven't checked out my baking mix video number 1 and number 2, definitely go back and do that because there are some good recipes in there. Now, normally I make this in a circle pan, but today we're gonna make it in a long rectangular dish. So I'm just gonna go grab that and I'll show you. I'm just gonna make it in one of these bad boys. Because the recipe is doubled, I can make it in something as big as this. Otherwise, you would just want to make it in a square baking dish, not a rectangle. Give it a good spray. This is pretty sticky dough. You are doing it right, it's just thick. My friends specifically requested that I make these. We're getting together on Saturday to do a pierogi baking day, which I think is going to be so much fun. We're going to make a few different kinds. We're going to do a blueberry raspberry dessert one, and then I think we'll do potato bacon. All right, this goes into the oven at 325 degrees for 30 minutes. So I will see you back with the brownies then, but in the meantime, we're going to put together our Oreo cookies and we are so close to done. Let's go put this in the oven. I was feeling really good, but I am fading fast now. So I'm hoping to get these done and then clean up the house a little bit. I'm gonna have to try and match tops and bottoms that are similar sizes. And just a little bit of filling on each. They're very cute though. Seems like I have a lot of filling and not a lot of cookies. So I'm gonna add a little bit more filling to each one. So basically my plan was to put all the desserts onto the paper plate and then wrap that in saran wrap, I think. Here's my last one. Let's see how many I got. I have 30 full cookies, so that's very exciting. Now I am going to start cutting up the fudge and the caramels, and I'll show you how I wrap those up. So what I'm going to do is put out my 20 paper plates. So let's start with the Oreos. So 1 Oreo per plate. Next, I'm going to cut up the fudge. I don't know how big you should be cutting fudge. So I'm just going to make it 1 by 1 inch or so. And because my pumpkin roll was a complete failure, that might just be a family recipe versus a gifting recipe. Because it still tastes amazing, it just doesn't look very nice. So we're running into a pickle. I think I need to chill this again. And then once it is chilled, I'll retry cutting it. I'm also gonna pop the caramel in the freezer too. So even though this was an epic fail, I'm still gonna try and cut it up. Otherwise it'll fall apart. Well, I'm not sure if that's a concern at this point. Look at that bad boy. Look at it. Okay, this is take 2 of the fudge. I've had it chilling for quite some time now. So let's see if we can get it onto. I think I'm gonna do 2 fudge per paper plate. the caramel next. I was gonna use this knife, but I think I need a bigger one. All right, I've got a bigger knife. Oops. Okay. And as I go, I'm just gonna start adding them. And any of these end pieces, I'm gonna save for us. Okay, let's chop up these brownies and then we're done. These are so ooey gooey. Every time I make them, I'm shocked at how delicious they are. Holy moly, we made it. Oh my gosh, look at this. I think it is so cute and I'm so excited to give these recipes away. They are top notch. Truly top notch. I have never been more impressed with myself. So definitely give these recipes a try. They are truly, truly delicious. Thank you so much for spending all this time with me. I really appreciate you more than you know. If you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. It really helps support my channel.